Hi, welcome. On this video, I'd like to discuss the issue of a dog coming into agreement with, or the agreeableness part of a process. And understanding, okay, when I talk about why it is that the process needs to take the form of a interaction based in a very specific way to advocate correctly, okay, to make sure that the control issues are actually being resolved, that unwanted behavior issues are diminishing. Because here's the thing about the whole agreeableness part, because again, this is something that's very popular, is that trainers are looking for a way just to motivate a dog to respond, to get the dog to agree with, make it fun-based, right? To get the dog just to start to move into or respond and go into various positions, position-based, and then lining it up that way without any sort of consideration in terms of even the context of the agreeableness part, okay? Now here's the example, because again, this is really important that people get their heads around this, because it directly impacts your success when it comes to behavioral issues going away. It's really understanding why it is that you understand the problem with stepping into a process where your only focus is on the agreeableness part, but in the wrong way, okay? So the example to go to is, once a child, okay, going to my human example, once a child's become very selfish, okay, the agreeableness part of that is about selfishness, okay? It's about, because here's the thing, is they're already selfish. So their thinking has already changed. They don't have a healthy way of interacting, thinking about others. The parents faded out of the picture. And so how they interact with and how they engage their environment and other people, it is based on a different thought process, okay, based on their selfish view. It's all about them, okay? So the context changes. So if you were to enter a process like that with the goal, here's the important point, the goal of establishing a better relationship, creating parental influence, and getting people to fade in the right way. If you go into that thinking, all I care about is I want to feel good about it, I want the child to agree with, okay, the agreeableness, and this is the problem, then using a motivating agent, okay, because all you care about, right, you're not thinking about the context of the agreeableness part and what it's really doing. You're just thinking about the agreeableness of something in terms of what? Getting response to happen. So the child will respond because you're using a motivating agent to do it, but the whole premise or the intent of what you're doing isn't lining up in terms of engaging the process correctly, aligning yourself with the right parenting style. This is where permissive parenting comes into play, okay? So it's all about people's attitudes about discipline and this whole thing with the agreeableness, okay? So again, you can have a selfish child moving around, responding and doing the right thing, so to speak, that would present a image of change, but no, change doesn't happen because you're just looking at a response level, okay? You're just focused on the agreeableness of getting the child to respond, not engaging the right way in terms of investing in and interacting with, okay, the child, and even the parameters of a proper boundaries and structure. All those things are thrown to the side, okay, because again, you're choosing to build the picture differently because your focus is on agreeableness, but not in the right way. Because here's the thing, is the child will come into agreement with, okay, a different process, even though there may be resistance, okay, in terms of how you're interacting, not because it's unreasonable, because they're taking it as unreasonable. It's about context. It's based on their thinking, all right? So therefore, you're advocating a different parenting path. So you're going to have disagreeableness, but not because you're doing anything wrong, because you're taking the right path. But here's the thing, the child will come into agreement with. Okay, years down the road, it'll make sense to the child, okay? You're just going to get arguments, but you have to engage, right? You have to choose to approach the relationship differently. Now take this whole example and put it into the dog training world, okay? And look at the trainer. I did a video on this where a trainer was going and using toys and talking about engagement and getting the dog to engage and all this thing. Well, this is the same agreeableness type of thing happening, where the trainers aren't considering the depth of what's happening. Dogs already has a level of control that's been established in the relationship with the owner, but they're looking at the agreeableness to do what? The same thing, to build a picture. They're not putting it in context. So there has to be the right process through, just like my parent-child example, with specific interactions. So what you're going to have is you're going to have disagreeableness. Okay, you're going to have disagreeable. The dog is going to challenge at a certain level. Okay, these interactions that are reasonable in the way that, in the context of how they advocate. Okay, they're very specific, but they're within the parameters of what's reasonable. Influence intersects it, but in such a way the dog understands the intent. Okay, so it comes together in such a way that the dog comes into agreement with it. So the whole the disagreeableness is the same thing. The dog is going to be somewhat disagreeable, but because of what these interactions represent, okay, because they're not over the top, okay, they're not like, they don't make sense. Because any dog, if you advocate wrongly, say if you take the authoritative parenting style and you're tyrannical, right, then you can't put that in context. Okay, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about how the process lines up in a very specific way for the dog to come into agreement with it. So the motivation, okay, is what makes sense. But here's the thing, is because this is a really important video for people to understand what's going on in the dog training world. It's the same thing. This whole agreeableness thing, it's context. Okay, if you choose to do that, okay, that way, and build a process that way, you open the door up for the dog to hold control through the process. Because it's not just about the agreeableness of something, okay? It's the dog coming into agreement with the right process. Okay, the process has to take the right path. Okay, it has to have the right integrity, just like the child. If you just focus on, I don't want to be confrontational, I want just to focus totally on agreeableness, well, you got a problem. Okay, because it's not about that. It's not about, so it's taking the right path, understanding that even with the child will come into agreement with, because again, it's going to make sense. They may not like it, all right, but it's not about, just about how they feel. It's, I mean, people don't like things all the time based on their feelings, but they aren't being reasonable. Okay, it's a reasonable thing, right? Because it's about relationship. Okay, it's about advocating properly. It's not just about the agreeableness of something. Because here's the thing, after you get the process right and you're fated in the right way with the dog, then the thing about using a motivator, it takes on different contexts then again, okay? But there's a sequence here. So again, I really encourage you to really step back and think about what I'm saying, why it is that there's a problem, okay? It's context. It's about how the process is unfolding through people's ideas about how they're building the picture, and just motivating response right from the beginning when a dog's already holding a level of control. Just understand it's about context. So it's got to be interaction based in a very specific way. The agreeableness factor, and even with the owner feeling like I want to get something out of the process, you have to understand about truly what the process is intended to advocate, okay, and the integrity of that, and why it needs to be very specific that way, to make sure that you're not deceived, okay, to make sure that truly the picture is building towards a relational change, that the control is being released, the behavior issues are going to diminish, because that's representative of control itself as it begins to manifest, and that you're fading in the right way. Okay, so everything's got to follow the right sequence. So thanks for watching.